We Crit Film, it's part of the BFI. It's about advocacy, and why are you part of it? Why did you choose to be the chair for this?
Well, mainly because I was asked. But also, I'd been a part of the group since its inception in 2018, and I really feel like, as a cultural institution, the BFI has given so much to the film industry, but needed to serve disabled people more. And I also felt like we needed intersectional representation as a queer disabled person of color. I think that it is so rare to see any sort of representation. And I felt like, as well, there's so much allyship that can be brought to raising disabled voices, from queer people and people of color, that really needs to happen. And I think I wanted to be part of encouraging that to happen with the guiding voices of so many of our members.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And what sort of gave you that start into film? Was it something you always wanted to do?
So I, like any ingenue, went to film school in Vancouver thinking, this is my place in my industry and the way that I am going to find myself in this world. And I went to film school, and it was like, we will beat you down with 24-hour facilities, and you need to work, so unbelievably hard. And I did a year of film school, and I went, well, now I know I can't be in the film industry. And I think, and I'd never seen anyone like me represented on screen.
Yeah.
And I didn't pursue a career in acting because of ableism after my accident, and receiving a lot of feedback being like, you're not going to get any jobs, we're not going to put you in anything, from people that had been my biggest supporters. And this is a really long response to your...
We got over an hour to talk, babes.
Oh. And so I basically felt like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I naturally went into an even more difficult industry of fine art. And then I, after kind of pursuing that, I moved to Brighton, after having moved to the UK from Canada. And I started community film events in Brighton because I wanted to meet more disabled people in Brighton, and I wanted to meet more people that were interested in film in Brighton. Yeah. And I tried to access groups in Brighton to do with film, and they were all inaccessible to me. And so I created these events, and then that's how I got connected with the BFI. And then my best friend that I met at film school, at said shitty film school, we ended up watching this show called Transparent, which was in the US and felt really groundbreaking for its time, albeit being really awful casting of a lead.
Yeah.
But what we loved about that was the idea of one person transitioning and it affecting everyone around them. And I felt like that was my experience of becoming disabled. Was, yes, I became disabled, but I saw how it affected everyone around me, and in particular my family and the world.
Yeah.
In particular, the world.
Just broke society.
Yeah. So so we thought about making this series, and that's how I really and it ended up being We Might Regret This on BBC Two, and that's kind of how that was my comeback. That was my revenge series.
Like, you can't say I can't do this. Screw you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before that, you know, you called yourself like the bedroom activist, and then you also made this really awesome short film called It's Personal with Lou McNamara. How did that sort of come about? Because it was kind of, I know, something to do with funding, but also just also the circumstances you were in at the time, because it was like lockdown basically, and you were isolated and needed care.
Yeah. So I had been in development with Rough Cut TV, and Lee and I had been working on the series and writing it. And when COVID happened and it was lockdown, it felt very much like, will this industry survive? You know, the film and TV industry.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Lou, who is a very good friend of mine, and I thought was, how do we make something when we can't really make anything? And so they came to Brighton, and this is at the time that they needed to isolate 2 weeks beforehand. This was before COVID testing. And they moved into my house for 2 weeks, and we filmed the show about, well, we have a love of reality TV.
Yeah.
And it all started, like every good story, it all started with a love of reality TV. And we decided to make kind of an episode
Yeah.
where they would learn how to do my care in a kind of reality TV challenge of seeing whether they could learn my care within 1 week.
Yeah, and what I love, because I love reality TV as well. We've bonded over this a lot, and I do think it's like, you know, because we're home a lot, and I think sort of watching those stories on screen, and also I feel like a lot of, especially in the beginning, I felt there was a lot of disabled people in reality TV, sort of sneaking around.
As we do.
As we do, always. And is that kind of part of why you love reality TV, or is it just pure joy?
I think I loved reality TV for the same reason that you say. It's like so much of being at home or being unwell or having bed life.
Yeah.
There is very, very little interacting that I can do sometimes. And sometimes that is, I can just interact with my television.
Yeah.
And I think, so it kind of came from that, but also to me, it came from this place of how reality TV actually is a sort of activism within itself. Just not normally advocating for the best things. So I was like, how can we use the medium of reality TV and kind of sneak in these other themes and see how you can have these conversations? Because actually I was watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Nice.
Was it Atlanta?
There's so many
Maybe.
of them.
I know so many of, no, Potomac. Real Housewives of Potomac. And yeah. Let me just fact check. Yeah. And it was during the George Floyd murder, and so many of them were having conversations around race and advocacy and getting involved in Black Lives Matter. And to me, I was like, this is brilliant. They're bringing this content to
a very broad,
a Housewives franchise.
Yeah.
You know, and so that to me was like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just glad to introduce the clip that I've chosen. So what I really love, and honestly, I could have full seasons of It's Personal, because it really, it's not just about, you know, the challenge, but within that challenge, there's actually talking about the practical side, talking about care, talking about interdependence, and talking about sort of having friends show up for each other and sort of figuring out how that works. So the clip we got, so this is Lou, and so one of the roles needed to help you is to catheterize so that you can pee. And in this clip, Lou learned something. So let's roll the clip, please. What I love is that it's can be very easy in a documentary reality show for to be a subject sort of thing. I hate that word, talking about film subject, but this is absolutely a collaboration between the both of you. I just love seeing the bits where like you're holding the camera and they're being perceived and the other way around and like yeah, like what does like yeah, how was that like collaborating with Lou like and sort of figuring out how to make this film together?
I mean, I love Lou so much, so much. It was incredible, but it was also like during COVID and a massive heat wave, and it was really scary because it was at the time where it was like, if you're disabled and you get COVID, then essentially it was like a death. It felt like a death sentence. So it was terrifying to think that I didn't know what we didn't know what life was going to be like after that, and yeah, I suppose it. So there were all of these. There were like very large stakes, which is also what you want in television.
Yeah.
And I think that I the reason why I love being in this industry is because of collaboration.
Yeah.
And you can get incredible collaborators, find incredible collaborators, and you can also get some not so great collaborators. And Lou is is someone that I would love to collaborate with for as long as we'd like to.
Yeah. And I think also like there was a lot of talking about care and the sort of politics of care. Like during the lockdowns, I had to sort of really isolate as well, and suddenly it becomes like people who can go out and get bread for me, sort of thing, and this sort of like, and I wouldn't say like a lot of control, but maybe just having to be that vulnerable and sort of opening yourself up to people, and I guess also making sure that having that apply in the film world as well, sort of having to sort of be quite open with people, not just so they know your needs, but so they know your boundaries. Is that like how have you sort of managed that sort of having to negotiate like what you need when working in screen industries?
Oh, that's a big question.
We can break it down.
I'd say like to me this like the film and TV industry is about interdependence. And when it is done well, everyone is getting their needs met, whether you're disabled or not.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's important to foster open communication and an environment where people feel like they are being respected and listened to and understood. And I think that creates great, like an environment for great storytelling as well.
Yeah.
And I think disabled people are so good at being like creative in our daily lives out of necessity that I think it felt like a natural extension in a way of our inner learnings.
Yeah, because I think I think I've seen you say like like disabled people are just inherent problem solvers,
Yes.
And I think with ableism, suddenly, if you when you become disabled or are disabled, it's all about you or it's your fault, it's your problem, and actually, in actual reality, when we're seeing it from our side, it's actually about everyone's got to work together. Everyone has needs. Everyone needs to have their needs met. Maybe we're just a bit more aware than you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Do you see that all the time? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I find like in my work, like maybe working with like able able people and sort of introducing things to them, or just like ways of communicating, and they're like, oh, I could do that sort of thing. This sort of thing. Like it actually it's better for everybody, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this was so this film that was from it's personal from film video umbrella or and like what was the response to that, like sort of as it was shown in places and
Yeah, it was actually, I mean, I don't know if this still is true, but it was their most viewed project to date. So, oh, thanks. And I think the full episode is on their website now, available. It's available for free.
oh sweet.
And we always wanted it to be yeah, so the response was incredible, and like it was the first time that I put something out there where strangers would contact me and say, you know, this meant so much to me, or this was incredible, or commented on our friendship, but also the idea of mutual aid and interdependence really resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, and so was that your first film that you sort of made, or your first like public film?
Yeah, I think that was my first public. Yeah, first public one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like actually I am a fucking filmmaker, right? Like, is it one? Was it one of those moments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like wait.
Well, I suppose like I never. Oh yeah, thanks. I never have moments where I go, oh yeah, this is it, because I think the moments of celebration are just an accumulation. The moments of celebration to me are quite manufactured. They're good to have there and necessary. It's necessary that they are there, but I think that celebration needs to be happening along the way, where you have moments where you say, "This, look at what we're doing."
Yeah.
You know, feel what we're doing. You know, think about what we're doing, or think about the rest that we're having.
Yeah.
You know, and I think so. To me, I don't really see the like putting it out there as any more significant than the process, or the process to get it there.
Yeah, I agree. Sort of like celebrating is good, I think, to sort of make a stamp on something.
Yeah.
And to realize, but I also someone who's sort of obsessed with process.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I think people spend a lot of time trying to erase that, and I think with my clown carved disabilities, it's kind of to actually try and pretend that there's not mistakes or odd things or my hair's out of place is too much, and I'd rather actually just sort of show people how I got there.
Yeah, I think there's also something that's really like capitalist about focusing on outcome and the end product, and it takes away from the joy of the everyday. And I think that's something, now that I realize it, I think that's what I try and do in all of my work, is celebrate the joy of every day.
Yeah. And I also really love in your work like these sort of themes of friendship and sort of working together to care for each other. And like because it was Lee Getty that you met at college, and you've had now like a very long sort of working relationship together that I think is really cool. And do you see that theme of interdependence with Lee as well? Because like I'm not sure people actually really realize all that stuff behind the scenes. So like, so you met at college, and did Lee sort of get it straight away about being a disabled filmmaker? Like, well, we have a long like friendship. Like, you see the best and worst of each other, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah, but so maybe I can frame it in the sense of how have you sort of grown together, like working together in the film industry.
Yeah, I think the reason why I also focus on friendship a lot in my work is because I feel like they're the unsung heroes of relationships. And I think that so much we focus on romantic relationships, and obviously we see like heterosexual relationships as the predominant narrative of a relationship
Yeah.
out there.
The achievement.
The achievement of a heterosexual kind of trajectory. And so I think that it feels really important to have, you know, disabled sex and disabled joy and disabled relationships out there, but it's also, to me, equally as important to see the power of friendships when someone is disabled, and when someone isn't as well. Well, all kind of Venn diagrams of
so what's like
identities.
what's like the working style? Like, do you recognize the working style between you and Lee?
Well, yeah, so Lee and I have been friends for over 20 years now, and we're just like siblings, really. So it's a dangerous it's a dangerous combination, but one that I wouldn't give up ever. And I think that we so value interdependence and what each other does and has to sacrifice sometimes to maintain that collaboration. And I, you know, in the same way that like everyone who's non-disabled might think that she has to sacrifice so much for working with me,
right.
But I also do the same for her. And I think that in a way, in a kind of weird turn of events, she's almost had to sacrifice the credit for the series, and we might regret this because I am the face of it, and it comes from mainly a disabled perspective. And she also low-key identifies as disabled. I think she's not claimed the identity as fully as I have, but she's definitely neurodivergent and wouldn't mind me telling all of you about this. And so I think that we both have access needs, and that sometimes clashes.
Yeah.
You know, and working through that and communicating about that has been one of the joys of our collaboration.
Yeah, being able to sort of, I guess, again, be sort of that vulnerable, and then like just being kind of that clear, like, this is what I need, okay. Mm-hmm. And when you actually make it through those conversations, I find are just most sort of enriching sort of thing, and it's something that I wish would happen more and more within the screen industry sort of thing. I think there's still so much pressure to appear like you've got this locked down and we don't need to, that's it just goes. And and I feel like you've managed to bring that all the way from Bedroom Activist to the BBC, right?
You planned that one, didn't you?
I didn't actually. No. That is it's my ADHD superpower. Constantly connecting, constantly fueled. And with We Might Regret This, which is, it's just, I love it. I love it so much because you've made something that is comedy and drama and friendship. I don't know if it's a disabled thing, but for me, like, friendship can be often more important than a romantic relationship for me, because romantic relationships come and go, but friendships sort of forever and messier and grosser and stuff. And you know, you are the main character, but it's not about learning about disability. It's not about like, oh no, it's just there because that's actually the reality of those lives, and then also the people you're interacting with. And like, when you and Lee were in the process for writing it, how did you make that balance in the script?
It was a really tricky balance because it was something that is obviously central to the series, but trying to describe how it is about being disabled and not about being disabled at the same time.
Yeah.
But then going, well, what isn't about being disabled was really a really difficult thing for me to answer. I was like, everything is about being disabled. The world rotates on the axis of ableism. So So it's quite difficult.
Yeah. you just get around to just getting angry writing it. It's
Yeah. Well, certainly angry with being able to try and come up about what it is and isn't about. Yeah. So I think, but what was important to us was emotional truth above all. You know, what it feels like to be in certain situations and how that feeling is relatable to anyone.
Yeah.
You know, the feelings of shame or embarrassment or feeling undeserving or feeling joy or feeling misunderstood or feeling completely understood. And I think, you know, it was about kind of getting hyper specific in order to access those universal themes.
Yeah, I think maybe because like all the characters have their own full inner story and their own full personalities. Like, you know, the positive sides and the negative sides and the annoying sides, you know, bad separate from annoying. And they're just full people, and they're full people who just happen to have their needs, and sometimes their needs are more obvious than others. And it just kind of comes across. I feel like you're just writing your day-to-day life in a sense. Just sort of like,
you don't know about that.
yeah. Well, it's also not like literally autobiography, but it sort of like relates to your life and such. Do you want to play the next clip?
Please.
So the next clip is possibly my favorite. So it's from We Might Regret This, and it's how do I describe it? It's the motorcycle scene.
I think you can just describe it as that. It's the motorcycle scene.
It's the motorcycle scene. Okay, please roll clip. It just makes me happy every time I see it. It's to me that's just like super crip joy. Just
yeah.
Freedom, no fear, as Nina Simone once said. You know?
Oh, yeah. I think so many people, and myself included, see and I saw specific mobility devices as being quite scary and having a lot of fear around how you would be perceived. And there was something that I was like, I'm a svelte, you know, I've got this svelte manual chair, and I lived in North America for most of my life. And when like I encountered ableism there so much more overtly than I do here. And so I never felt like, even though I knew that my autonomy would increase if I used a power chair, I refused to get one because of how I knew I was going to be perceived.
Yeah.
How much more ignored I'd be, how much more I wouldn't be listened to, how much more people wouldn't talk to me directly and talk to whoever I was with. So I resisted it for a long time. And then when I came to London, I was like, oh, I could be able to pop out to the shops myself, or I could be doing this, or I could be doing that. And I was introduced to this charity. I would only say that this is, you know, be very aware of charities, of course, but and it was called Whiz Kids, and at the time, I know.
I should laugh.
I know. I was 26 as well when I got my first power chair. I was like, I am not a child. The weirdest thing as well was the person at the time who was the chair or the president or whatever of the charity was Boris Johnson.
Oh,
lols.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he know he was chair of this?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah. So thank you, Boris, for the power chair. And we wanted to capture that sense of freedom when you let go of judgment around yourself and let go of that internalized ableism.
Yeah.
You shed it, and what that freedom feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Freedom, no fear. And how was it actually filming that scene? Like, like having all the motorbikes around you and just I love to just see you say, "Let's fucking go."
Yeah, that was ad-libbed, of course. It was one of the most incredible moments of my life.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really, really incredible. It was actually an all-femme motorcycle.
That's so hot.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly Dykes on Bikes, but I wish it was. And and there was someone who had traveled 7 hours to come by on her bike. And she got there and she said, I didn't know if I was going to be able to come today or not because she's disabled, and she was like, I might have had a flare up. But I've traveled 7 hours to be here, and I will be traveling 7 hours back to get. I was like, please don't do that. But it meant it was so fantastic to feel when I was there, and I didn't, for some reason, I didn't anticipate them like honking right beside me, and that's when I was just like, so that was really incredible. And then my Lou and Lee, we just wrapped filming the second season of We Might Regret This.
Yeah, literally yesterday.
Like, no, Thursday. We wrapped on Thursday, which feels like yesterday. And we were talking, and we have another scene that's quite incredible, a standout scene that felt incredibly magical. And Lee was just reminding me so there's like this thing called a flatbed that we had to use to film that, which was like this flat trailer type thing that's attached to a truck. And I had to go on that and be like strapped down to it, and to be able to get that speed. And the director, the producer, Lee, and Lou, who you saw in It's Personal, who's self-catheterized, they are a camera person, and they were focus pulling, and they were like, we could not see through like anything because they were crying so much. all four of them were just like, and I couldn't see them because I was crying so much as well. So it was so it was a really emotional and magical experience.
Yeah, and I imagine let's let them change over. Thank you. And I imagine part of what makes it so magical is also like it sounds like you've got a really good team around you. And for someone who's like, you know, he might be wanting to try and build himself up in this, how do you get that team? Because I think I also have this assumption that you don't always get a choice about who you work with, and then actually having to maybe bring them on board with your ideas and needs, which can be the same as other people, but I guess for me as a disabled person, not having those met is more damaging. So like, what am I trying to ask? I guess I'm thinking about building your team.
How do you find your people?
Yeah, especially if you don't always feel like you have the power to even do that. Like,
yeah. I mean, I definitely, it feels like what I'd imagine an arranged marriage with a group of people would be like.
Yeah.
And then like when your project finishes, you divorce, and then you see who you want to be in a relationship with and continue that on. I would describe it as that.
That sounds more lesbian to me.
Hey, that's
like,
also part.
You know what I mean? Like your exes who become like your handy person, or the ex who like drives you to the airport, and like the ex who finds you your next partner. Like that's like, yeah.
It's very much like that.
Yeah. So I say it's like the lesbian ex sort of like L word like spider diagram.
Yes.
Thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So simple.
Yeah. Really, really simple.
And then when you are having to work with people who are maybe just new to it, like how do you like navigate that? Kind of like some people here need some like training and
New to disability or new to what?
I guess new to like because I guess behind the scenes I'm assuming that there was like access coordinators and sort of and then having people who like they'll be aware that it exists, but maybe not really aware of the nuances of it or what you actually might need, or that, you know, don't touch your chair or things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot. So we had a number of different access coordinators. One of them is here in the audience from the first season. Thanks so much. We had a number of access coordinators on set for both seasons. But one of the things is like you can't always curve ableism as much as you can try, and as much as protected as I thought I was going to be, there were several scenarios where that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And it was a huge they were huge moments of learning for us as a team and for myself as a human being.
Yeah.
And also moments where I felt really proud of myself, because I was like, I don't advocate for compartmentalizing. I think that's bullshit, because I think it's denying living and feeling all of these complex things at the same time. But I think what I realized about myself is that I highly value a certain type of professionalism that allows me to be resilient.
Okay.
And so when I experienced there was someone from the public who came up to me and started a conversation with me and Darren Boyd, who's one of the actors. And we were in the middle of shooting a scene. We were in between takes. And someone came up and he said, well, this is actually a great intersectional story. We were filming in Peckham, which is a historically like
Black neighborhood. Very mixed.
Yeah, super mixed. And I definitely like am read as white by a lot of people, and I'm not from Peckham. I don't sound like I'm from Peckham. And he started talking to us, and it was the director and the first AD are white, and Darren was white as well. So it was kind of like a group of 3 white people, me and this black man who had come and started talking to us. And he said, oh, who's the star of the show? And Darren said, oh, well, there's right a lovely lady here. Me. And he said, and this member of the public said, are you really a cripple, or are you just using that as a prop? And I said, well, and I tried to just be really patient, because I try and, if I have the spoons for it, if it takes no spoons away from me, do a quick assessment. And I think, do I use this as a moment of education? Not that that's my job, but if it doesn't take any spoons away from me in that moment. And I said, well, if you mean, am I disabled? Yes, I am. And no, this is not a prop. And then he went on about how like Jesus was going to save me, and like how I was like, he hoped that I'd be able to walk again.
Did
and
he pray
that
for
like
you?
He didn't in the moment.
He held himself back.
He might have when he got home.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he said I will never lose hope that you're gonna walk again, and all this like bullshit. Can I say bullshit? I probably said it about 10 times.
We said all the swear words apart from the C word, so
yeah. Cunt.
Hey.
So
Walked right into that.
Yeah. So So I and after that, and nobody stepped in and said anything. Nobody said, and it was all on me. And he was monologuing. This was like, and at some point, and I was thinking the AD, whose job it is to kind of move people on, say we're going for another take, da da da, didn't say anything. And afterwards, when we were debriefing about the whole thing, they had said to Lee that they did not, as in the first AD had said to Lee, or someone shouldn't maybe say that, but said to Lee, we didn't want to stop him because they're very, very touchy. Like the residents of Peckham are very touchy about the gentrification of Peckham, and there not being a lot of like black films and TV shows that are being made by black people. And so we just let him kind of continue on because we didn't want to like push him out of that scenario. And so it felt in that moment that there was like this hierarchy of identities, and
it was also that it's a very like white liberal guilt privilege kind of thing.
Yes,
because
I didn't think about
it's a difference between having a chat and just being outwardly abusive.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was complaining that where's the white people in the show. He's literally being ableist and abusive towards you, and being able to just blah 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 without anyone stepping in.
Yeah, and getting away with it. And I think that's the fact that we don't recognize ableism in the same way that we recognize racism and homophobia and sexism is really dangerous.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what's really annoying is that with all of those, there's still moments where you can be let down on any one of those
100%.
marginalizations sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like there's like a disappointment maybe because it's your team, and then it's also
so.
But also you kind of just kick into that natural gear where you're just managing the situation as you would on a day-to-day sort of thing. Like when you're talking about that Peckham, I was like, I know that guy. I've met him.
Yeah.
I've probably shouted at him.
Yeah, that's why you were like, did he pray for you then and there?
Yeah, because I'm like, I was like, I think, I've done, there's been many situations with preachers in Southeast London, as me living there over the last 11 years.
Yeah.
I've offended all of them, and I'm proud of that. But that's kind of my response. That's how I kind of reclaim my thing back. So
yeah, and I think it's just like a really, it's really complex, but like exactly what you said, like the idea of people not speaking up on my behalf because they didn't want to speak up on my behalf, which I also respect, but I'm also like, fuck off, you know, there was a cutoff point.
Yeah.
Then also the idea that it was largely from like white guilt, not saying anything, was probably largely from white guilt. And then also just like the complexity of feeling like really, really let down by my team. But we did use that moment as a way of being like, okay, should something like this happen again, what do we do? What do we put in place?
Making plans now.
Yeah. And it did bring us closer because we were able, I was like, hey, just to let you know, like I felt really disappointed, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I get that you don't want to speak on my behalf, but if I'm a deer in the headlights and being hurled at loads of abuse, please say something.
Yeah.
You know? Also, it's your job to move people along.
Exactly. Who the funk it?
Yeah.
Oh god, I could talk about this for ages, but I just want to sort of talk about Patrice, the movie. I don't know how many people have seen it in this room. Yeah. It's a joy. It's a thing of color and beauty. It's romantic. It's funny. And you helped write, and you were one of the producers for it. So Hell yeah. Actually, we got to screen it for LFF, and I actually got to interview Kyla twice and made him cry twice during it. So we're going to show basically. When I was looking for clips, I found that there was an audio description version of the trailer, which I just hadn't seen before. And so we're going to be using that. But maybe you can just sort of briefly, if you can, say sort of what Patrice the movie is about.
Yeah, so Patrice the movie is about a Black disabled woman in her 60s. Shocker, because you should see the skin care of this woman. And her partner, who's a white disabled man, and it's about how they want to get married but can't because of being on Medicaid and Medicare. And if they were to get married, they would lose their essential funding that they rely on to survive. So,
yeah, just like in this country as well. So
So in this country, it's a £23,000 limit that you're allowed to have in your bank account, but you would get your care funding cut potentially,
and your housing benefit funding.
And your housing benefit.
This I know from my experience.
Yes.
So if you say the partner moves in, you could also they sometimes make you try and force one of you to lose and one of you to keep, because that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
We're gonna just start showing. So the clip is of the audio description of the trailer for Patrice the movie.
One split second. Is that the benefit cap limit in the US is $2,000 in your bank account. So that's the difference in terms of like the UK versus the US.
Yeah. Well done, America.
Yeah. Well done again.
I can't overestimate how much you need to see this film. But we were just like giggling here. What I loved my favorite part of that clip is when they put the description for air quotes. It's just bringing up material alive for more people to engage with it, right?
Yeah, well, I was really specific I'm so glad that you pointed that out as well, because I specifically, we got the audio described version and the captioned version of the trailer back, and I was like, no, you need to put the captions need to have quotations around it. They didn't. And you need to have, say, air quotes in audio description, because they didn't. And it's because it changes if you say something, so dramatically. I saw a guy with a t-shirt on that said, "Let's eat kids." And then below that it said, "Let's eat, kids." And then underneath it said, "Punctuation saves lives." And I really related to that t-shirt.
A bit of audio punctuation.
Audio, yeah, exactly. And audio punctuation really changes things.
Yeah, and then all the things you saw, like the Ferris wheel and stuff, and the sort of play one on the roller coaster, that's all designed by Patrice. They are most amazing artists with so much creativity and energy, and like for me, seeing like a Black disabled woman just sort of bring that, and was just like so much for me. And what I love when I see all these things is disabled people looking after each other. Right? I think so often it's kind of like, you have the disabled person and the long-suffering, able-bodied person who loves them despite it all. But actually, most of the time when I need help, I'm asking my disabled friends, because they actually know what to do and they know what's going on.
I was offering pills to Tara earlier on today.
It's a true story.
I was like, well, I got this stashed in my bag if you need it. Dealing with that today? Okay, well, I've got a couple of things right here.
Oh, like the amount of like doctoring I do for my dad over the phone. He's like, how's my eye looking? I was like, I literally can't see your eye. We're on like regular phone.
Yeah.
But I assume this is what you need to do. But yeah. But like in Patrice, like you get scenes them like trying to raise money and they're collecting, was it the like cans? And you know, some of them's got them on their wheelchair and like dragging it and stuff, and just that, yeah, I guess that care, like the mutual aid, the interdependence, the care, it all comes together. And you know, we've been talking about cripping up the film industries, and I think that's kind of it, like putting those things together, you know?
Yeah. I just, oh yeah, I as infuriating as that story and working on that film was in so many ways because of the system, it was just so incredible to see the kind of disabled community and joy within Patrice's life and be a part of that and still be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just gonna check the time.
And we're taking her to the Emmys.
Yeah! She went to the White House a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Well, with Biden.
It was like, I think Biden's last dance was probably with Patrice at the White House.
Oh God. It's like you know, it's like when someone gets an MB, it's like
yeah. You're like, do you accept it? Such a good question, and I think it really varies from person to person. And I think everything that you're saying about migration and genocide, it does feel overwhelmingly unfair in the world right now, and overwhelmingly difficult, I think, to find what I find incredibly difficult is like, how do I put what limited energy I have as a disabled person, as like someone who has chronic fatigue, as well as a bunch of other stuff, how do I create systemic change, and almost because a lot of the time I feel like we're putting plasters on things, plasters and plasters, and I think a lot of these seismic shifts need to happen, and I find that again it is finding that joy in every day, whilst also holding all of these very, very this global grief that I think a lot of us feel who are more in tune with ourselves and the world, and have empathy or sympathy for what's going on. Because I think it's incredibly important to honor that grief, and to not push away the idea that things are really difficult right now. And I think to me, I find disabled joy in watching TV in bed with my partner, who is in the front row, Angie. Yeah, we just had like a glass of wine in bed last night when I was too exhausted to do or feel anything. And I find joy in those everyday moments when I can. And I think it is about really connecting with how you find joy and hold grief at the same time, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so what Allison's referring to is that every single scene that you see in the house is a set. And we built the house to make it look inaccessible, which it was. But then we had to make the inaccessible accessible if you know what I mean. Because so many times, I've lived in places like when you're renting and you can't really do much. So you stick a really inaccessible ramp on some very inaccessible stairs, for instance. And I think for me, I think it is always important to ask the person who is going to be dealing with that inaccessibility first what they see as the best option, because I find a lot of the time in the film industry when there's like this, there's such a hierarchy and a need for all of these different departments, but a lot of them, and I think a lot of people sometimes don't communicate with me directly,
Right.
because they're trying to spare me and spare my energy. And so it ends up being like someone's talking about it for a week with another person who's talking about it for another week with another person who's talking. And I was just like, just talk to me. And I think that, and I think that's like very, that's my personal preference. But I think that it is, it's always going to be about finding a compromise. And I think it's also always about using disability as a tool of creative problem solving, which is what Tara and I were talking about earlier. And it's always about looking at this is an opportunity for creativity.
Yeah.
And I think approaching any access or magic of cinema and TV idea with that.
Yeah. Awesome.
I suppose. It's like the lesbian group that we were talking about earlier. This idea that like you find your people, and then you invite a whole bunch of other people in, and then you kind of work in this relationship with them, and then you stick with the ones that you know that give to you, and you feel honored when you give back. And I think that life's too short to work with shit people. And I think what I say when I'm working with non-disabled people for the first time, I usually make people go through a course, to be honest.
Love to see it.
I don't do the course anymore. Triple C usually does the course, and it's brought on by an access coordinator, and that's like what I make them do before. But of course, we need budget for that, right? And I'm aware of that, and that I've been lucky to work with the BBC, who has made that happen. But I suppose to me, I sometimes give a preamble of, just so you know, I'm going to be really open in my communication with you, and you're going to make mistakes around disability, whether it has to do with language or assumption or whatever. And I will probably make mistakes, and I've been on my own learning of like undoing internalized ableism for 25 years now. So you have a lot to catch up to, but no, I don't say that. But but also that that it's okay, that I try and foster an environment where it's okay to quote unquote get it wrong, because I think that's what a lot of people have a fear around, is this whole idea of air quotes getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's that is a lot of like non-disabled fragility and whatever as well. But again, like I do want people to really engage with what it means to be disabled and undo ableism, because it is the most profound experience I've had in life, is really engaging and leaning into what being disabled has taught me about being a human.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I love that I feel like I'm auditioning for Miss America right now. It really is giving. I have well, I like honestly I'm like, where's my sash? I feel like we need to radically change how we work in the world. I think capitalism that has led to individualism and this idea that independence is everyone's goal is an absolute myth and needs to be abolished. And I think that only when people realize that ableism is at the core of, I would say, all of our issues, I'm just going to put it out there. Only then, and when we realize that interdependence should be the goal and mutual aid leads to connection, community, and creativity, that is when I think both the yeah, that real collaboration, kind of global collaboration, can happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know, like whenever I've managed to save up and go on holiday, what always gets me is that the places with the most debt-free access is like the fancy resorts. And it's sort of like they'll invest in that because there's like older white rich people coming and they'll get access to those ramps and stuff. But then say the rest of the country just just everyone else just lives there. Sort of like it's not worth it sort of
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
like a disabled body is an anti-capitalist body,
Yes.
and that's where we should be leading from.
100%. Yeah.
Like, and also like literally the people who live there who are, there's always someone doing the work. Like I always kind of think people, people be like, oh, we got to invent stuff. I don't believe in that. It's already there.
Yeah, exactly. I think like to me the for the people in the audience that know me very well, they know that I spout the 10 principles of disability justice in my sleep. But I feel like they're so fundamental in terms of how we need to reset our value system, that to me, looking and embodying them in body, spirit, and mind is to me one of the only answers.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Patty Byrne, who came up with those principles. Yeah.
I think what you can do, I think I know that you're a director, Zoe, so I think you are in a really great position of power to be able to say you will not turn up to set without an access rider, without sending it beforehand to all of your cast and crew. And once that is normalized in all productions, I think that's like incredibly important. I think it is a foundational step that needs to be taken. Another thing is I always say, like, as a producer, you should put at least a minimum, I would say, of 15% of your budget should go towards access. And that is earmarked immediately. So, and that does not get touched. And it also is like some of it should definitely be reserved for once people actually get on set too, because a lot of people, like, once you bake this into production, it makes so much more sense and is a lot easier to come up with solutions to the creative problems around access throughout and pre-production, production, and post-production throughout the whole process. And I would say hire disabled hire disabled people, uplift disabled people in every department, so that they will also kind of influence the production. I know that like we have a lot of people on We Might Regret This first and second season who are trainees who are disabled. If we can't find senior roles for disabled people in these productions, and what is happening now, I've done some work for Sundance, and now on all of the applications for Sundance, they ask you in their application about how much you plan to budget for audio description, captions, and I think something else. But they and like how you're going to embed access in your work. So I think I think those are all important questions to ask, and I think they're important questions to follow through on. And then the second part of your question, oh yes, so I would say the most incredible environment that I've worked on was probably Patrice. I wouldn't say that it was perfect by any means. There was a lot of learning that needed to happen from some of the team, but because Ted Passon, who's the director, was good friends with Patrice, he also knew that because she is in her 60s now, that she struggles with her energy, that she would need shorter filming days.
There was also like grief support, like there was like trauma support.
Oh, we had a trauma-informed counselor, Dr. Laura Quiros, who was on that became like she would have a weekly session with Patrice, and she would also was on set. She was on set with us, and I'll just say, so Laura Quiros is spelt Quiros, and one of our producers, Imbo Shim, who is not disabled but is the most brilliant ally and gorgeous human being. We saw our work as producers as taking care. You know, that was how do we take care of our team? How do we take care first and foremost of Patrice and Gary, and their community, so that they have the best experience. Because I think long gone is the idea that you should, as a documentary filmmaker, come and go into someone's life, exploit their stories, and fuck off. So, yeah.
Oh, beanbags. Comfortable. I want to be comfortable and in fabulous dresses.
Well, as Mr. America, I would like to say that disability, pride, it means everything to me. I think it means being my whole self in every situation. It means abolishing self-hatred and the internalized ableism that is self-hatred. It means loving and being grateful for all of my disabled friends and community. It means resting when I need to rest. It means communicating with the people I love. and it means finding creativity and joy in the everyday. And I love your outfit.
Yes. Okay, we're coming to the end. So
you want me to?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to give everyone a massive fucking round of applause to Kyla Harris.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, I'm just stimming now. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.